Hey everybody, welcome back to TomGirl, where we talk all things sports, entertainment, fashion, and adventure. And tonight, we got a great one for ya. We have best-selling author, TV host, and CEO of Passion to Paycheck, Erika De La Cruz. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
You got it.
All right,
Girl, you did
yeah! Welcome, you made it! Welcome
Thank you
to
so
TomGirl.
much. I know. I braved the traffic in the finest city in the world, and I've arrived. How are you?
I know, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Of course, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
I know, LA always gets us all sometimes. Oh, great. So thank you guys for bearing with us. We have so many great things to tell you about with this episode. So,
Yay.
So we'll just get right to it.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
I want to first, I think, start out with kind of your journey before, and then lead up to where everything wonderful that you're doing now. Because I watched your Sue Talk today, which for those of you who don't know Sue Talks, they're like TED Talks.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to talk about, your journey and kind of the adversity you got through to move on.
No, fantastic. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. The minute that I hear someone has seen my Sue Talk or experienced my chapter in the book, I know they have a vast knowledge of information. Like they have a good little chunk of info about my life, which is cool. So, yeah, I mean, it was a little bit untraditional. And I mean, I guess I'll start with I do a lot of things now. And, there's praise. And sometimes there's like, you got so lucky. And it's funny to hear. And I know that it's the peeve of a lot of overachievers is that phrase or like, oh my God, you're so lucky to be doing that, which you are lucky. But there's a lot that kind of, I guess, precedes doing all of it. So
a lot of hard work and a lot of effort, right?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of, it's weird because idea generation is sometimes downplayed, but sometimes to generate the ideas that evolve, you have to go through things that lead to that evolution. And so I think that's what my Sue Talk is mainly based on. And for those, out there wondering what that is, the Sue Talk was a real sort of recap of what my family went through in the recession of 2009. That we don't really talk about too much. I mean, we learned about the Great Depression. Sometimes we mention there was an economy crash around 2008, 2009. But I don't know if we've really dug into the repercussions in terms of what happened. What is that movie, The Big Short?
Yeah.
I was about to say The Big Sick. So God bless Brad Pitt and Christian Bale. I freaking love them to death. But the film was all about what happened with the stock market, who got rich from it, and I think maybe there were 5 minutes where it was, ironically, in the film, they go to Northern California and they see this home being foreclosed in the movie because of the recession that was about to hit. And I remember having to almost leave the theater because of how short it was. And I'm like, oh, where's the movie on just that? Because essentially that's what happened to my family in the crash, which was we lost our business of 30 years. And our home was foreclosed in a really weird, almost unwritable way where we had 11 hours to sort of pack up everything I've ever owned. And I lived in the same house for so many years that it was my lifespan. And then my mother, my mom just, as we have parents who are also out in the world doing things, they're proud of those things. While she was proud of her children, she was super proud of that house. So I think she was in denial that it would ever be foreclosed. And I remember she got the mayor of our town involved, but it was my first year in college. I didn't know a lot about what was going on. And so when I returned, I sort of was told, your parents don't have a business anymore. It seemed like it was overnight. You don't have a house anymore. We're going to give you some hours to pack up your house tomorrow. Bye. So I'm like, what? And, staying with family, friends, thank God, because I couldn't get into my house was helpful. But it was a weird experience packing up that day and kind of knowing life wouldn't be the same. And the other thing that happens in recessions is that your family, well, not your family, I should say humans, because we're all human beings, is you go through emotions, and drastic changes lead to drastic emotional changes as well. And my father, whose sole purpose it seemed in life was to run that business, when that crashes, he developed just hardcore depression. And so to put it into perspective, when I left for college a year earlier, parents were together in a Beamer dropping me off. We were pretty well off, substantially, specifically because we were from a really small town. And, you know, a year later, my parents really weren't even in communication because you underestimate the power of a cell phone. And when you don't have a cell phone and when you can't pay that bill, all of a sudden, it's like, where do you send the carrier pigeon? There's not even an address. And so it went a really weird direction that summer, and my life kind of went flip. And yeah, so it was an interesting time for sure. I mean, my whole life changed, and I guess in that moment I was tested as a 19-year-old. You know, a lot of people have to wait until till they're well into their 40s to figure out the sort of crises of pileup. And I think that I'm super thankful that the universe dealt me that hand, and even to my family at the time who went through what they had to go through, because all of a sudden it provided me with this forced environment of like a pressure cooker, and I got to see what kind of popcorn I'd pop, you know, that's what happened. It was weird.
And how did that push you to then pursue like the entertainment after that?
Yes,
your career?
Yes, it was 1,000%. It was weird. Before then, I always knew that I wanted to get into entertainment, and I like had an inkling for it, but the drive or necessity to do it was nowhere. It was, you know, pressure creates diamonds type thing. I think after that happened, I realized I don't have anything left to lose. Like, it's weird because some people, fight or flight, it'd be like, oh, I don't have anything left to live for. And I think what I realized, pardon me, was that I didn't have anything left to lose. So the risk tolerance went up, and I was able to sort of take these higher caliber risks going back to college. And you know, I stated in my book, probably not as openly in the Sue talk, but my family continued on their paths. So my mother became, you know, homeless voluntarily inside of that community, where she still is now, which I'm finally, I mean, a person has to it takes a while to be comfortable talking about those things. But then my dad bounced back eventually. So I'm glad that when I went back to college, these risks were there to take. So I just sort of started applying for scholarships, getting into as many serving positions as possible, like serving tables. I don't know, four or five jobs later, and a few grants and scholarships later, I was able to just fund myself, realized that the state was paying for my housing, and I could take as many free internships as I wanted, which ironically, those are a lot of the opportunities in the industry that get you to where you want to go. So yeah, so it was so nuts, and it all culminated into me graduating and becoming the first ever essentially the youngest female marketing director at Entercom Broadcasting. So I was corporate for a while, but I don't think that opportunity would have come without this weird like work ethic I developed. I didn't have anything. I mean, I had no money. I had nothing. The other, we never got our stuff back. So when we packed up our home, a few months later, they didn't know who to get a hold of to pay the storage units. And eventually we have fun watching things like Storage Wars, but people don't realize like there's families whose items you're like bidding on. And so essentially that's what happened to my family. And all of my items were basically gone. A family friend went back and was secretly, this is so crazy, you can't write this stuff, but secretly buying the items back, and eventually told me. And so I did see some of those things, but I literally went back to school with what I had in my car. To this day, that's what I still have, apart from some of the things she was able to buy back. And so...
And one of those things was your grandma's urn, which your grandma was really close to you. And I thought that was such a sweet.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Thank you. I actually forget what's in that talk versus the chapter in the book. And yes. So, yeah. And it's something I don't want. It's a little morbid, so I don't bring it up. Sometimes publicly, unless the situation is there. But yes, it's one of the items that was sold, and I think it's such an important. It's so important for people to understand what this recession actually caused, which was a lot of crazy loss and transition abruptly for so many families out there. Like, they took so much. this isn't an exaggeration. People are like, oh, she probably got to pick what she wanted to keep, and then what she didn't want was sold to the state and then repurposed at swap meets and flea markets. But no, I saw the stuff and then would never see it again, with the exception of Facebook messages throughout college of people randomly going to flea markets and they'd see my picture in a frame or something, and it would be like, is this, what's going does your family run this lot? What's going on? I don't understand.
Yeah.
And, you know, or I'll never forget, I got a message that was like, hey, these carvings on your on this kitchen table, I swear to God, they're ours from growing up. I think this is your table. And it's like at a flea market somewhere in the damn state of California.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of that. And with that, the person going back to buy all of my things, who was my nanny from growing up, she's like my world. The book later would be dedicated to her, and is. She eventually, like you just mentioned, found a marble jar for $3 at a flea market. And, you know, asked what they wanted for it. And they said, oh, how much is the marble jar? And they said $3.99. And she knew exactly what it was. And it wasn't a marble jar. If you're ever out there wondering, did I sell that? It was my grandmother's urn. So it was her remains. And I'll never forget that. Essentially, that was the transition to her saying, oh, I need to tell Erika that I'm buying all this stuff back, because for a while she had said that she was keeping it from our old house because I would go visit her. She created this room for me near my hometown so I could go back like the other kids for summers. And then she was like, how do I explain? I don't know how I'm going to explain this one to her. And it was so surreal. Oh my gosh, wow, it takes me back to that minute. And yeah, I remember her telling me, you know, I have something for you. It was on my birthday. And I was so thankful. I don't know. It was just like, it was shock, but I really got to know what I was made of, because every time I went into shock, I went into gratitude from the people who were there instead of depression for who wasn't. And obviously, you know, eventually it was like an aunt would call me and be like, hey, sweetie, just getting wind of what's happening. This isn't like a birth announcement or like, you know, an invitation to a party. I didn't call everyone, and my family.
Announce it.
Exactly. So it is weird to dissect how that happens, but, you know, an aunt who really cared about me, it's like, hey, sweetie, I think on college campuses they have access to therapy. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, you know, whether you feel like this now or later, you should probably go. And it was just like, whoa, I feel so supported. So it was like, at having nothing, I realized I had everything that I'd ever need. And then all of a sudden that was the drive. I'm like, there are so many people out supporting me. I want to show them that, like, I'm on board. I wasn't into fighting the help. I was into, like, I don't know, I'm like lovey by nature. I just loved them so much and was so blown away by them showing up that I'm like, all right, so I want to get these scholarships to show them I'm really in it, and I'm working, and I'm going to, like, make them proud. Like, they're believing in me. And to this day, it's weird, but my motivation and drive for little things, like, I'm on the junior board of a film festival right now, and someone's like, you know, why in your spare time would you want to just be on the board? And I'm like, honestly, there's a gala kicking off the festival each year, and I'd love to be able to bring my family, I call them, my family and the people who have supported me, to meet their favorite celebrities on occasion once a year. And that's the kind of access that's there. So it's funny how much drive that actually gave me. I don't know, I would have had it otherwise.
Yeah. And then how did that turn then into your, like, entertainment reporting, and what were kind of the steps of your career?
Right. So the steps where I got this crazy, unheard of position as the marketing director. So if you're in corporate, a director is like a position that's usually waited on. And I was 23, got this marketing director job, staff of 11, and a corner office, and everyone's like, you're not leaving. But I knew, no, like, life is short. You could lose everything tomorrow. I knew I was leaving at a point. And so I stayed for about a year and a half. But at the year point, I knew that I was sort of transitioning out. And what ended up happening is I was hosting a lot. I mean, I was entertainment reporting for a late night show. The full-time job was in broadcasting, so I was already sort of in the industry, and started hosting Fashion Week. And then what happened was, oh my God, this is so crazy. Yeah, what happened was I left my full-time job. I was coming to Los Angeles. I worked with a few networks out here already, and I was scouted by Connected Women of Influence. They said, you know, we have these Sue Talks. You would be the first sort of millennial to give one, but we'd like to aim toward a younger demographic. And I showed up on day one because they put you through rehearsals so that it's a polished speech. And I gave this talk on business because I was used to people wanting to hear that I was the marketing director and, you know, a young female. And they said, no. Like, this isn't what these talks are about. And I almost left the room because they said, we want to know about maybe the most vulnerable thing that's ever happened to you. And I'm like, why? So that's when I finally started speaking more publicly about what I had been through. And from the Sue Talk, this is the crazy part. From the Sue Talk, my now business partner watched it, or maybe was in the audience that day. There was something. And he happened to have co-published the Chicken Soup for the Entrepreneur Soul books with Jack Canfield. And it was like the universe. He said, I watched your Sue Talk. I know what, you know, you've been through. I see your social platforms, so I know that, you know, you're into mainstream culture and the girl boss movement. And I want to put out something similar to the Chicken Soup series for young female entrepreneurs. Thus came Passionistas, which was the book that I put out. Did extremely well on Amazon in 19 different categories. So it became a bestseller. And all of a sudden I was like the one heading it up and on the cover. And I'm like, So it was really surreal. It was nuts.
Tell people who maybe have not read the book yet, and you all need to get it on Amazon, about how because there's so many women in there with so many great stories. So how did you go about finding all those women and getting them to be vulnerable and share?
Totally. So essentially what we wanted to do was, he had heard me share so vulnerably, and then I became passionate about it. Huffington Post after that did a whole feature on my story and everything else. And I realized, like, whoa, vulnerable conversation is the access to everything I'm ever going to want. All the connection, the real impact. I started realizing that was the key. And it wasn't all about what was on my social media platforms. Even though a part of me enjoyed that, the juice was in my vulnerable sharing. So we decided, you know, with the publishers and the editors, that they wanted to recruit, you know, 30 of the top producing female millennial entrepreneurs, personal brands. It didn't matter what they were running. So like some YouTube channels, products, personal brands. We have the CEO of We Rule at the time, founder of The Find Guru, like so many incredible women. But the prerequisites were each wrote a chapter. So it's a compilation book. If you are familiar with the Chicken Soup books, each chapter is a new story. And the prereqs were you cannot share anything that's readily available on your Instagram feeds. We want to know what the real talk is. Like, we want to know what's actually happened, you know, whether that's a failure, a loss, something that you've been through. And so the book, it's called Passionistas, Tips, Tales, and Tweetables from Women Pursuing Their Dreams. In fact, I should have a copy. My publicist is going to kill me. Oh my gosh, we've got to switch because I literally have one for you.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so yeah, anyway. So
it's like, is it in here?
No, no, I know it's literally at home, and you forgot my shirt. This is the craziest thing.
Exactly.
So we've got to exchange. I'm sending it to you.
But everybody, you can get her book on Amazon. You can also right away read it on Kindle because I was on the airport coming back to your plane this weekend, and I was just easy to instantly download it and start reading it. So
there we go. Amazon, yes, Kindle, Barnes and Noble. It's on everywhere. It's everywhere. So yeah, so that was the real pivot.
Now, what was your work involved in that? Did you go like research and find who you wanted to include? Did he help you out with that?
Yeah, so I think that he understood that I was immersed in this world of, like, you can't explain it, but when you're in the industry and you're on Instagram and you may be doing some celebrity type stuff, you know a few people already in your network who are up to big things. So I sort of started there, and then I realized that there was so much interest, we actually opened up applications. And instead of, you know, approaching people one-on-one or a Facebook post, I was able to say, you know, if you're truly interested in this, because often if someone takes the time to fill out that application, the commitment level is huge. And that shone through in writing the chapters, in marketing the book. Essentially, we had 30 other powerful females marketing the book and getting the word out. So of course it was hitting up the ranks. So yeah, so it was a large amount through application online. A lot of people I knew, I did like, you know, shout the awareness on my social platforms. But then my business partner also decided to sort of post it a little bit more publicly. And then we realized the link was being shared beyond our world because I met so many women through the applications alone. And yeah, we sort of sat down. I had a lot of personal calls with them. So that was really important to me. I wanted to talk to them personally, wanted to know what they were about, what they saw for their future. And yeah, they were sort of selected that way. It's crazy what it's done. One of the co-authors, she runs the LA Girl. It's the LA Girl everywhere. Like, Google it. She's right there. Oh my God. Her partnerships are blowing me away. She has like Target and American Airlines. She's the face of all of it. And we just did my little bachelorette party last weekend.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And it's funny because there she was sitting there, and I started thinking I would have never met you if it weren't for my book. And it just served so many purposes. And all of a sudden it became almost like a stronger business card to bigger opportunities that I was looking at that I never expected. Yeah.
One thing I loved about the book, which being kind of in the realm of you guys with the girl boss and the girl power and stuff.
TomGirl? But I told you, the branding is like, you're a passionista.
But yeah, but I'm like eating it up because I'm like, I'm ready to take things to the next level. And it was fun for me because opening that book, like there was a lot of people like the LA Girl and other people that I do follow on Instagram, but I had never heard their stories.
They're amazing.
So it was just so motivating too, to be like, to read about those people who have had their adversity as well and things when they push through. Yeah, so it's such a motivating, powerful book.
Thank you for saying that. One of the things I think if you're getting into any industry, like, you are going to grow together. It's so incredible. I see my peers from a few years ago now, oh my God, the expansion is huge. So the book is just another indicator. I'm watching these co-authors. You know, at the time, I think one of them was at the Wrap Hollywood, and she's now at Deadline and is like coaching the people at Rolling Stone. And I'm like, whoa, people are just expanding. And when you do it together, you get the juice, juju spilled on you. And it's like, oh, okay. Like shared energy almost. So I just, oh my God, it's appreciated 10 times over. So yeah, the collaboration was huge. I was excited. Yeah.
Now you've transitioned this into Passion to Paycheck. So talk to us about that.
So, okay. So here's the scoop. So the book came out, and simultaneously, I was also I think with the CW, A-List Communication, and a few different networks at the time, doing the TV portion of my world. I love it. I need it. I breathe it. The talk show.
Meaning you're hosting and doing your show.
Like doing my show, being in entertainment. It's just such a passion that was being developed on the side of the book stuff where I was speaking so often. And mind you, they did overlap. Hollywood loves that I have a book. The entrepreneurial world loves that I talk to celebrities. It's like it feeds the other.
Yeah.
And at the same token, from Passionistas, a large audience grew that wanted to know what else they could be involved in. So my business coach at the time and I, we developed like a Boss Babe blueprint, that culminated in a Boss Babe boot camp. So I was teaching media and mindset, brainstorm facilitation, which I was completely certified in after my marketing, my corporate job. So I turned that into an entire program. I was coaching one-on-one, generating a lot of revenue. And it's weird because I was less happy than I've ever been in my life and realized that the one-on-one coaching thing was never going to be me. I think I'm such a one-to-many that's how I get energy. And I realized it was being drained from the smaller coaching, personal development, mixed with like Passionistas, and they were attracted to me because of my entertainment world. But what I did realize was at the end of each program, we did a live event for about 12 girls, like high-end program who I was coaching, loved the live event part. So then I pivoted and I said, what if I could do a live event that took place inside of both of my worlds? So Passion and Paycheck was born. And essentially it was personal brands, personal development, and TV personalities. And each year the keynote speaker is a TV well-known personality. We had Liz Hernandez with Access Hollywood the first year, Kelty Knight from the Lady Gang on E! And Entertainment Tonight the second year. We are going into our third year now, and it's really a conference based in, it's less informational, more transformational, and that vulnerable conversation. We're getting the people that you see on your Instagram feeds, that you see on TV, to open up about the things not on their Instagram feeds, exactly like the book was. And it's just sort of all the worlds blending together. So it's exciting. This year, Bumble has jumped on as our presenting sponsor, and I'm just like, what? So it's so crazy. It's like surreal in a way. And I get to finally have that overlap of consistency where I have my community and TV, and then I also want to give back and give transformation and entrepreneurial advice to young women. It's all this kind of clash of the titans, beautiful thing that's happened. So, yeah.
People can get tickets to that? Or
yes, 100%. So passionatopaycheck.com. If you go visit, we were picked up by Focus TV Network last year. So we do have a year-round talk show that is Passion to Paycheck. The annual show, the annual event is this spring. So April 27th, you can get tickets, passionatopaycheck.com. Get them now. So the speaker lineup is about to be released, and the price with that will increase. So
go now.
Yeah, go now. passionatopaycheck.com. Grab your tickets. Come and join us in the gorgeous, gorgeous space of the Ondas is the venue. Heart of West Hollywood. Tons of Passionistas. Bomb gift bag. I'm like excited for my own little swag bag. So yeah, we'll see.
What's some of the details that go into creating a live event like this?
Oh my God! Oh man. Is this liquor? No, just kidding.
Got some vodka under that. Just kidding.
Honestly, it's weird. It's funny because one of my goals is just to be so real about my career trajectory, so that people don't think that, just to stay in integrity with everything my brand has been. Planning an event comes with so many moving parts, and I am more a visionary, less an integrator. So luckily I work with a team of amazing people. There's a team of 4 who are such a support network inside of, everyone has their little category or department, if you will. But planning an event is nothing that I ever thought I would sign up for, and yet the payoff of a beautiful, beautiful day in the company that is experienced, all the cost is worth the reward in the end. And it comes with a lot of rejection and a lot of no's. Specifically, like year 3, there's different set of issues. But year 1, people are like, who are you? Like, what are you doing? Nobody cares. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. And I mean, it's trying. It's trying on the psyche and the body. And it's interesting because the team component for Passion to Paycheck is so huge, because you have 5 people who believe in it wholeheartedly. It's weird. They've made it their world. Now they're on board for the long haul, and that kind of keeps you going. But then you have these gems. So just because one person doesn't see you does not mean that the plethora of others won't. And the biggest point of that is, I figured maybe 5 to 10 years in, I could get someone who I had been watching since my radio days. If you're not familiar with who Liz Hernandez is, she was on Access Hollywood for, 10 years, forever, started in radio. Now, she launched her personal brand at our first event called Wordiful, left Access Hollywood, God bless her, love Access, and I know she did too, but she literally, after Passion to Paycheck, decided to dive headfirst into her passion to create her Paycheck. And now it's a segment on the OWN network, and she just partnered with Smart Water. So she's now the face of that. And she saw immediately, she goes, oh my God, what a great opportunity. You know, how can I access your audience and how can I share and how can I give back? And oh man, it was such a light at the time. Liz, if you're out, I love you. It was so beautiful.
Well, that's a great note. How would you tell people out there watching you right now how to turn their passion into their paycheck?
Well, one of the biggest things that this is my field of experience, knowledge, and expertise, is if you are trying to turn your passion into a paycheck, like immerse yourself inside of what entrepreneurship is. Like, it's funny because I think that passion and paycheck, we have such a community of artists who also don't live and die by the auditions, if that makes sense. They have created a platform to have their own thing going on and to sustain that. And as you create that platform, get around like-minded individuals. Go and don't be afraid to invest in yourself. I say that in integrity with me not being afraid to invest in myself early on when I got that business coach. I was so nervous. I was like, what's going on? But I knew I had to believe in myself to follow through this program that I wanted to enroll in. And I didn't think twice. And I'm not saying go take out a credit card. That was my path. But I literally, this is crazy, a little personal, but it was a large amount. And I was like, okay, what has to work for this to work? And what had to work was my belief in myself and my commitment to crying in my closet every 10 sales calls, knowing that the 11th would be a yes. And I made that commitment and I paid the credit card amount off in the first 3 months of already having paid him off. And it's weird because I think the universe aligns with you when you agree to be aligned with your own commitments. And it's like you're a fake almost. If you want to do something, you know it's for you, and you think that any financial component is holding you back, you actually, there's a gap in the belief system, I think. And there's something that's out of integrity with that because you're not putting all your chips in the basket, if you will. The other thing is relating to yourself as a commodity. Sometimes we start personal brands and we think we have passions, but to generate that paycheck, you have to start treating every facet of what you do online, what you're presenting to the world, your partnerships, as something that is monetizable. Inside of pitching yourself and, gaining those partnerships and leveraging your social media, one of the things that no one can hardly believe when I speak is these partnerships I had early on. And I'm talking, in the influencer world, I'm at 1,300 followers pitching myself for Fashion Week to Kia because I host Fashion Week here in Southern California. All of the other partnerships that I had could benefit them. And it was my belief in myself that corresponded to that number, not the number of followers that corresponded to the number that I pitched the contract for. And I got it. And it's like this belief in yourself is more than a cliche. It's an undertone that the universe can sense. And the opportunities you're getting, look around. And depending on what they are, you can sort of gauge your commitment level to yourself, like through the ebbs. Because the flows are there. The ebbs, you got to be like, I still know who I am,
So you just said you pitched yourself, which I want to talk about that too. So what are some of the business steps you took that did separate you from the rest, like by taking those chances, like pitching yourself, or what are some other things that you did?
Absolutely. I mean, pitching myself was a huge component because so many people wait till they hit that 10K number on their social platforms. And I was like, I don't need that. I leveraged my partnerships really hard. That benefited all parties. I was involved with Fashion Week at the time, another late night show, and also St. Jude. So St. Jude was a charitable organization I met in my broadcasting sphere for country radio, but I was still doing every single one of their galas on the red carpet. So essentially, I knew that I had those 3 big partnerships. And even though I might not be able to sustain the type of reach that a client or company would want to see on my own, I leveraged my community by saying, these are the 3 people I partner with. This is how they could leverage their social platforms. And if I have Fashion Week tweeting out a photo of what I'm going to wear for this event, St. Jude already posting whatever footage we're, putting on for the event. And I cover entertainment, which I could so easily weave in your brand to. Then all of a sudden you have ad space, a social media spend, and, a partnership with all these brands. So I would go to them and say, do you want to fund this video? Do you want to fund this segment on behalf of this organization in partnership with all of the rest? And all of a sudden, I didn't have to start small inside of that. So leveraging the community, I feel like that was a huge step in realization in the game was, who do you know that you can collaborate with to pitch the grand scale? And you don't have to wait for that. Like, okay it with your partners or whoever else but make sure it benefits all parties. And then the other component was this: I have always, if I was going to ask people to coach with me, I wanted to be in integrity coaching with someone else. And the reason I could ask people to enroll in my high-end program, which was not cheap, and the reason I could have, 12 clients at a time, was because I had already paid for that type of program. I'm in complete integrity with what I'm asking you to do because I've done it myself. So making sure that I'm always, even with Passion to Paycheck, there's always a transformational aspect. It's not just going to listen to successful people on a panel. There's vulnerable conversation. You're meeting these people on television, but there is a component that is so interactive and allows you to open up and evolve. I need to make sure that I am evolving as well. So keeping yourself, while turning that passion to a paycheck, enrolled in programs with coaches, with mentors, whatever it looks like to sustain whatever you're given back, if that makes sense. Like fueling yourself, then you have nothing to hide. Like, so many people are like, what if they find out I'm a phony? Which is just a mind trap that doesn't actually exist. But to go the extra mile and actually be keeping what's between your ears, savvy with what you need to deliver, is a huge component, I think, inside of it actually landing and being successful, I think. So.
Were there any things that you learned that you're like, oh man, I wish I, knew that earlier on?
Man, I'm like, yeah. I feel like one of the biggest things was titles. I was so young that they're like, you're a director. I'm like, I'm a director. But I was also on the air part-time for the radio stations. And I remember 2 years in asking someone I trusted, like, hey, do you think it's okay if I start calling myself an on-air personality? Because I am doing the shift during the week. And they're like, are you kidding me? Like, girl, there's no timeline. No one's going to write you or send you the email that you can officially call yourself something. I realized that held me back for a while. Was not claiming and naming what I was doing. So many people are like, I'm trying to become an actor. No, you're just an actor. Like, that credential's not coming for you. And in a lot of respects, the people who are up to things, I'm a struggling artist, whatever it is. I'm just an artist and I'm thriving in my life type thing. You don't have to sell a piece to call yourself what you are.
And it definitely changes your mentality, because I've been that person. And it's like, if you don't step into it, you're not going to see the goals that you want to achieve. Well, no, I could talk to you all day long because there's so much I want to pick your brain for. I know we're just about out of time. Yay. Before we go, I want to do a speed round.
Ooh, yeah.
Real quick. And just ask you a couple questions. It's a little quiz about what kind of TomGirl you are. So
I
would
love
you
TomGirl, the brand. Okay.
I'm going to pick her brain on how she can make me grow this brand.
Yeah, baby.
Anyway,
Oh my God, you're coming to Passion to Paycheck. So for everyone watching, TomGirl will be there. Let's figure this out.
About it. Tell you guys all what
in
she
the
says.
house? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay. Cold beer or spicy margarita?
Scotch.
That's even better. Ocean or the mountains?
Ocean.
Favorite sports?
Beer pong, dancing. I'm not very athletic.
Those both count. They count. Your best beauty hack?
Pay someone else to do it.
Go-to outfit?
Leggings, unless I'm on a carpet, then a gown.
Your favorite motto or words of advice?
You can never be overdressed or overeducated.
All right. And are you a passionista, fashionista, TomGirl, or all of the above?
Oh, I'm so all of the above. Is that the right answer?
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, baby. This was such a blast.
All right, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
And good luck with everything. Tell everybody one more time where they can get tickets to Passion to Paycheck and how they can follow you.
Totally. So passiontopaycheck.com. Follow along at Passion to Paycheck. And then my personal platforms are all at _Erika De La Cruz.
All right, guys, that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you here again next week. Bye-bye.
Perfect.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.